guy that got excited, I come up with a business idea, I was like, yes, it's going to be successful. And we live in this world where everyone comes up with an idea and they think it's going to be a success. It doesn't work like that. There's key things that we're going to talk about. I don't want to go into it too deep at the moment, but the point of the matter is that, yeah, it's great that you've got ideas, but go and validate the market, as Andy's already alluded to. Go and test it out and try not spend thousands of pounds on a logo, trying to make it look perfect, trying to get a website done. There's more important things you need to do before you get to that stage.
Before I go into validating ideas, I want to try and define a few things for you and really let you understand the funding landscape. So first, let's define amateur versus professional investors. This is the part that I was about to start writing. Amateur versus professional investors. So an amateur investor would be someone like your mum. She might promise to give you £20,000 with the promise that you'll pay that £20,000 in a year. She doesn't ask for any equity, she doesn't ask for any interest. It's just a loan because you're my son or my daughter, and I love you. But then you have a professional investor, and a professional investor invests with the hope to make a return. In the startup world, investors hope to make a return of minimum 10x. So if I'm giving you that £20,000 within 3 to 5 years, which is the investment landscape where they want maturity to occur, they want £200,000 back. When you start an idea, you don't really want to go to a professional investor straight away. That's pressure to perform, and that's pressure to build something bigger than yourself, and you have to be prepared to exit within 3 to 5 years. When I say exit, I mean sell your company to a bigger company that wants to acquire your company, or list your company on the stock exchange, what we call an IPO. And that's where it's basically where you're selling your shares to the public to make it publicly available so you can fundraise. Second definition I'm going to break down to you: debt versus equity. I'm sure many of you are aware from it from a finance and economical perspective. Let me break it down in simple layman's terms in a startup perspective. The private debt market is there to serve and provide a liquidity or capital to this market. Me and you are consumers. We could receive this debt in form of a mortgage or a credit card or a bank loan. And we receive this debt with a promise to pay back that debt within a given time frame with interest paid on top. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. We all know what credit cards are, student loans. We're all suffering from student loans now. The second thing I really want to touch on there is, debt aside, we have to pay interest on top of that initial capital that we borrowed from that bank or that institution. An example in the startup world within the UK is Startup Loans, which is a government organisation that lends up to £25,000, and you pay back that initial capital, I think, within 5 years with interest paid on top. Then you have equity. Now, equity differs in that an investor will give you that capital, not expecting interest back, but rather expecting a share or an ownership of your company, a certain percentage ownership of your company, be it 0.5%, 1%, up to 5% at a pre-seed seed stage. Now, with the equity exchange comes the pressure to perform, because that investor is looking to get out of that investment between 3 and 5 years. Oh, good, they're listening. Within 3 to 5 years. So if we look at the investment landscape, it's good for us to understand the product life cycle. Who's familiar with the product life cycle in here? Good. This should be fairly simple then. So the product life cycle starts with the introductory phase, where you're developing your idea. Then you have the growth stage, where a company's really scaling at pace. Then you have the maturity stage, which is where actually you start thinking about adjacent innovations to introduce to the market. And then you have the decline stage. So if we walk through the famous example of Apple with the iPod, the iPod was launched in 2001. And the next thing they launched in the introductory phase was iTunes, only to the US. Then they launched iTunes internationally during their growth stage. During their growth stage, they also launched the iPod Mini, the iPod Nano, the iPod Shuffle, and the iPod Classic with enhanced features, which was the video function. During their maturity phase, they introduced the iPod Touch. Now the iPod Classic has been discontinued in 2004 during their decline phase. What has Apple done? They've introduced other innovations into the market, such as Beats Music. It's a very typical life cycle, but you have to be aware of the life cycle to understand what's really going on. Alongside that life cycle is the investment life cycle. So Pokemon Go, since there's a running theme of this talk, it was started actually by a company called Unity Technology, and they raised $181 million by DFJ Growth Ventures 2 weeks ago, based on Pokemon Go's launch. So Pokemon Go wasn't actually really meant to take off like it did. Nintendo were not really prepared for this. So this company currently is in that growth stage. It'll be interesting to see what features, enhancements, or other things they bring to service as they go into that growth and maturity stage before they reach that decline stage like Pokemon did on the Nintendo years ago. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, the next thing we're going to touch on is it's crowdfunding and equity crowdfunding. It kind of gives it away in the name, but crowdfunding sites such as Kickstarter allow you to put your projects onto a website in exchange for the promise to give customers almost like a thank you note or appreciation for investing in your company. You don't have to give away any equity, but what you do in exchange is give them, for example, pre-release, first dibs on what you bring to market, or credits if it was a movie or a film. Then you have equity crowdfunding, and that's sites such as Seedrs and Crowdcube. And this allows you to exchange equity within your company for a little bit of capital gain from the public. The thing about equity crowdfunding is it's not really for a pre-seed entrepreneur and people with ideas in this room. It's really for a company that's already gained traction. So recently, an international money transfer company called Revolut, for example, opened a round of equity crowdfunding. But they're only able to do it because of the fact that they gained 200,000 customers within the last 6-7 months on their platform. That's the kind of growth scale that they want to see in customer acquisition on these kind of platforms before they're willing to invest. So Revolut managed to, I think, gain £10 million in 10 hours, which is not bad. It's not bad. I think we'd all enjoy £10 million kitty in our pocket. The next thing I really wanted to find to you is the difference between an incubator and an accelerator. Have you heard of the terms, incubator and accelerators? Alright, so there's blurred lines in between them, but basically they're co-working spaces, like WeWork, with additional features. So an incubator focuses on the embryonic stage of a company, that very early stage to help you get off the ground, really validate your idea, and find out actually what you want to build. Some take equity now, because the lines are blurred, but traditionally they didn't take any equity. They would provide you with a free working space for 3 to 6 months, and perhaps a little bit of capital injection. But you really get exposed to their network, and they create events for investors to come down, so that you have a chance to pitch your ideas for possible investment. Now with an accelerator, kind of given in the name, the focus is really on accelerating the growth of your company. So it's more for that seed stage company that's really looking to grow and go into that growth stage. They focus programs on 6 to 12 weeks typically. They take some equity share out of your company, and they try and fuel you not only with investment capital, but also exposure to their network of potential customers so that you can scale your business. So now let's look at the difference between angel, VC, and PE. So angel investors focus at that very embryonic stage of your company, that pre-seed stage and that seed stage. The aim of an angel investor usually is an ex-entrepreneur who has some capital or a high net worth individual, and he doesn't only want to invest his money into your business, but also expose you to his network and his expertise. It's a very risky game because most startups fail. Who knows how many companies actually fell according to the SBA after 1 year? Just guess. Guesstimate. 95%. Okay. 50% year 1. 5 years, what percent?
75.
86%. That was quite unison though, 75. Someone else give you numbers before. I quoted mine, SBA, so you can Google it. 10 years, how many companies make it to the 10-year mark? 96. 97 is good. I'll go with 97 because he said 97. That was quite good. 97% makes it to the 10-year mark. And that means that 3% that's left, we have to factor in the fact that a lot of those are not even profitable businesses. They might just be just hanging on. So 3% of businesses make it past the 10-year mark. Is that really attractive to you? Do you still want to become an entrepreneur? Nah, joking. You could be that 3% in this room, but it's good to be aware of the landscape that you're entering into, right? So